That day after work, I saw a middle-aged woman hurrying along with a child in her arms, looking terribly upset. I'm usually not much of a talker, but that day I was in a particularly foul mood. At 5 in the afternoon, HR had informed me I'd been fired. The reason was flimsy. In reality, it was because I'd refused to endorse the manager's preferred company during a supplier evaluation, which had offended him. Getting the boot felt deeply unfair. I'd stuck to my principles, yet lost my job. That evening, feeling low, I wandered aimlessly down the main street. Passing a small park corner, I spotted the mother and child ahead. The woman tugged at the child while saying, "You didn't do your homework. Come home with me." The child cried incessantly, kicking and flailing, eyes filled with terror. This scene should have been just a routine scolding, but something felt off. The child's fear didn't resemble the reaction to being scolded. It felt more like the dread of encountering a stranger. Out of curiosity and instinct, I called out, "Wait a moment." Seeing someone following, the woman quickened her pace and turned into an alley. I caught up to ask, but she claimed the child was her grandson and urged me to mind my own business. The child, however, reached out to me with a pleading expression. The more I watched, the more off it felt. The child treated her like a stranger, showing no affection or dependence, instead trembling with fear. At the end of the alley, a beat-up van was parked. 2 people got out, and the tension instantly thickened. Without hesitation, I snatched the child from the woman's arms and sprinted away. The force knocked her to the ground. She scrambled up and gave chase, while the 2 men from the van rushed out. That moment, I ran unlike any ordinary run, perhaps the fastest I'd ever run in my life. As we burst out of the alley, we glanced back to see the woman and the 2 men scrambling into the van and speeding away. The child cried, tears streaming down his face, but he didn't struggle. As I carried him out of the alley, he clung to my neck, seemingly aware I was helping him. To calm him down, I took him to a nearby convenience store and bought drinks and snacks. He drank an entire bottle of soda and gradually settled down. The clerk and passers-by said they didn't recognize the child. I asked him where he lived and for his parents' phone number, but at first he choked back tears and couldn't speak. Later, in a hoarse voice, he told me his home was in the building next door. The woman who had picked him up wasn't family at all. He didn't know her. He'd been playing hide-and-seek with friends, accidentally wandered out of bounds, and ended up being carried away by her. Without an access card or keys, he couldn't get back inside. Once he gave me his father's number, I called while comforting him. Soon after, the boy's father arrived by car to pick him up. Seeing his son covered in tears and sweat, he was both alarmed and deeply grateful. The father repeatedly thanked me and insisted on treating me to a meal as a gesture of appreciation. I politely declined, urging him instead to take his son to the hospital to check for any physical or emotional injuries. That day, still reeling from my recent layoff, I hadn't even considered calling the police. My sole priority was getting the child settled. Later, I submitted resumes to companies recommended by the father. Several invited me for interviews, including the one he suggested. After comparing options, I chose that company to try. Unexpectedly, I worked diligently there and performed well, earning a promotion to management within a year. I later learned that the man who recommended me was actually a major shareholder in my current company. Yet he never interfered with my advancement, merely providing a platform for me to prove myself. What reassured me even more was the news report soon after. The woman who had tried to carry off the child had been apprehended by the police. The thought of what might have happened if I hadn't intervened sends a chill down my spine. Looking back, it was precisely because I happened to finish work at 5 that day that I encountered this incident. It was precisely because I acted then that I changed the child's fate and unexpectedly altered my own career path. Since then, I've held the principle better to be wrong than to let it slip by in the highest regard. A child's safety affects an entire family. When faced with an unusual situation, having the courage to intervene, even if it's just asking one more question, can often lead to unexpected turning points.